Oh, hey guys, back for another video. Wanted to talk about champions and how they only uplift and inspire and never denigrate. So I've been watching a lot of YouTube videos for tennis lately, and it's kind of interesting when you see these folks in the comments section, looking at, it could be like USTA 4-5 or 5-0 or, equivalent UTR play. And these guys are like, well, this person sucks because, they're really 3-5 wannabes, or in my area, you'd be 2-5 and all this other stuff. And I find it kind of funny because, anyone who is lashing out in that way, I know it's the internet, so it is what it is, but they are dealing with a sense of insecurity about themselves. And the only way that they can feel validated is judging their own performance based on what they see on screen. And a lot of people elevate their status and, oh, I could do that. And I'm kind of like the exact opposite, where I look at some of these guys playing, like, man, that's really good. I'm going to try to get to that level, but it's going to be a hard journey. So a true champion, a person who's been through it and been through the adversity, they understand that the challenge scales to what the difficulty is that you need to improve. So you could even look at it from like a low-level ATP professional player who maybe 1,000 on the tour, and they wind up winning a major tournament, like, for them, a challenger event or something to that effect, and they feel really good about that. And then you have a champion like Novak Djokovic who could come by and say, well, I've won, 22 major titles, so, your win is meaningless. And Djokovic wouldn't do that. More, he doesn't have the time to do that. But also, as a true champion, he wouldn't go out of his way just to denigrate somebody just to make himself feel better, because he would already be secure enough to know, hey, I'm pretty much the best that's ever played the game. I have the record to show for it, but he's still improving and still trying to get better. So through your journey and your progress, if there are people in your life that are being negative towards you and giving you a criticism that's not constructive, it's just more of a vitriol that they're spewing at you, you can pretty much disregard it, because in the grand scheme of things, you don't want to trade places with them. And that's how I've always felt about people in negativity. And I'm guilty of this myself, where you lash out. And that's one thing that tennis has taught me, is that, whatever your goal you're working towards, just know that that's the difficulty and the challenge that you need to improve. So for me, going from basically a 3-0 to 3-5 to 4-0 and moving up into 4-5, hopefully within the year, that to me is a big deal. But I know in the grand scheme of things, when you compare it to other players that are much higher level than that, it's not that big of a deal. But for me, I know what I had to go through. So I know that that challenge pushed me to become a better person. And I have won championships, in my journey, which it really made me appreciate the fact of how much work and effort it takes. So I would never, especially as a coach, never go out of my way to denigrate someone and say, yeah, you're terrible at this and everything else, because people are already hard enough on themselves. But and just to think about that process of improvement and becoming better and going through that, you don't need to have someone on your back basically weighing you down. They should only ever elevate you and lift you up. And that doesn't mean that you get let off the hook. So if there's a marathon runner, well, like Goggins, for instance, who I take a lot of inspiration from, he could walk a mile and everyone would be like, okay, wow, that's great. And, it's good for you. But, for him, he knows that's not any remotely close to where he needs to be. So, that's for him, maybe 50 miles, running would be a good challenge for him. So you always have to scale. But even a guy like Goggins would not go out of his way to beat you down if you're trying to do something and move forward with your life. So always remember that a true champion is centered in themselves. They have their process and their goals they're working towards. And then they have this aspect where they're only going to uplift and encourage you to push yourself to the next level. That's all I got for this one. I'll catch you in the next one.